Look at you, Sabrina, riding all by yourself. Hi, Stacia. Good morning, pony girl. Do you have this up because Sabrina's controlling? Okay. Oh, that's okay. I'm gonna just watch her ride for a second. Look at you, Sabrina. That's so awesome. Loving horses is something that just was always in me. My mom said that it was one of the first words I ever spoke, and once I said it, and I never shut up. I've just always been a horse addict. You know, horse people aren't made; they're born, and there's just something in you that if you're born a horse person, you can't help it, and nothing can stop it. It's just there. So Stacia started out as a show horse. I started showing her when she was really young. As I got into film, I got interested in training her to be able to be used by film. And I also have always trained horses to do tricks. It's kind of just always been a fun thing for me to do. So I started looking into what you needed to do to make a horse usable for film, and it's actually really easy if you know how to train tricks. Hey, baby girl. This is all twisted up. It started off just something fun to do. You know, I bred Stacia, so I've had her since she was born, and you can't ride them till they're 3. And so for the first 3 years of her life, you know, I could train her halter and show her in halter classes and in-hand trail and obstacles, but it just gave us something more to do. It was more to teach her how to learn. And that's the thing is, with animals, when you're training them, you want to get them to understand that if they do what you want them to do, there's reward. So you're basically training them how to learn what you want them to do. And so it started off with that, just doing it for fun, just, you know, something to do, different connection with her, get her thinking. But then it turned into, because acting is my passion and horses are my passion, it just kind of naturally melded together. The very first film I was in, actually, she was in with me as well. And it just made me realize that there's a market for it, there's a need for it, and she's really good at it. And so I just went with it from there. So as you can see, this crop, it's not for smacking her with, it's a communication tool. When I do certain things with it, it means something to her. Like if I tap her elbow with it, it means for her to go down. If I raise it and hold it, actually I can show you. So if I stand here, get her attention, Stacia, so she'll back up off my body if I'm with her, but sometimes for camera, I may need her to back up and me not be in the shot. So, Stacia, head up. Now if I do this with it and move towards her, that means back up. If I hold it up, it means to stay there. If I give her my shoulder, it means for her to come back in. Good girl. She's sitting a little crooked there, I'm saying. I'm gonna adjust her. You gonna adjust? Scoot over. There you go. Ready? Give him a kick. Can you give him a kick? Do it again. There you go. Little kids all the time. I have friends ask if they can bring their kids over to see the horses, and I will do that because I remember being a horse crazy kid and not having a horse, how special it was for me if somebody let me ride their horse or even come and pet their horse. And so I really enjoy sharing that with people. As far as like adults coming over and riding, I've done that too. It's just not something that they ask as often. They can ride Tessa and we can ride together, or they could ride Stacia in the arena. I don't really let people ride Stacia outside of the arena just because she's so specifically trained. If you put a leg on her, she'll spin at the canter. If you shift your weight, she'll trot sideways. And there's a lot of things that she's trained to do that would be very confusing to her if she's riding with someone who is accidentally cueing her. And she could also move right out from underneath them. You having fun, Annika? Yeah? Is riding riding your favorite thing ever? All right, are you ready to stop? You want to stop? You want to get off? Are you sure? A little bit further? Roxanne,
right,
like
you
me,
go
was a
away?
horse girl her whole life.
No.
And so it kind of makes sense that her kids are likely horse girls too. They rent the house next door from us and they board their horse here. And part of why they chose to rent our house was the ability to board their horse here so that they could have their horse close by and the kids could grow up with the horses. It's a lifelong passion. If you're a horse person, you make sacrifices and you make choices so that you can be around them. There's a joke in the horse world called horse poor. And that's because if you have horses, they're expensive. You know, you're spending money every month feeding them, worming, every 6 to 8 weeks shoeing. You know, there's occasional vet bills, and you know, it's a huge commitment. If you want to go somewhere, you got to hire somebody to take care of your horses, and you know, having horses is a huge commitment. But when you love it, it's your passion. It's, you know, it's something that you can't not have in your life. And for Roxanne and her girls, and for my granddaughter, you know, that passion is there. You can see it already in those little kids that, you know, they're just so joyful when they're with the animals. And so that's going to be something they'll continue for the rest of their life. Oh, you filming now? If you're going to own horses, you're going to spend a good part of your life doing this. So having horses is a lot of work. They're expensive. It's an everyday thing. You got to clean the stalls every day, make sure the water's clean every day. It's, you know, a lot of grooming. You spend a lot more time actually taking care of them than you do riding them. But for a horse person, it's totally worth it. So, and it's kind of relaxing, actually, cleaning stalls. Almost every horse person I know, it says, you know, it's kind of a mindless task. So it's a thing that you're doing that gives you time to kind of think and process, and I just find it relaxing. But it's never been something that I really minded. I mean, there's days when you don't feel good or you're overtired and you're like, okay, I don't want to do this today. And you don't have a choice, you have to. If you have horses, unless you've got somebody else taking care of them for you, you get out there and you take care of them. But most days, I don't mind it at all. I would rather take care of them myself than have somebody else do it. Good job, keep going. Good job. Stacia, touch. Touch. Oh, you're gonna give a butt shot to the camera. So no matter how excited she gets, she knows touch and she'll come back to that mark. Let's try one more time, see if we can't get her to do it without giving you a butt shot. Really? Stacia! Hey! She'll be back. Come on! You might want to get the shot when she runs back down, because she will. She actually was being really good considering she hadn't been out in the field at all yet, and I haven't really worked the Liberty work with her that much lately. Normally if we have a film thing coming up, I prepare it and practice it with her. We did that once. I brought her out there in that field yesterday once and did it, and so just to make sure she would, and you know, she did. But her running off, she's just being a horse. So you have to recognize that and work with it. It's just like working with a little child. They're not going to listen to you perfectly all the time, but you train them and you teach them and you let them know they're good when they do it right. And when they do it wrong, you try again. and you just have to recognize that when you're dealing with horses, they're not always going to be perfect, you know? It's like they say in film, don't work with kids and animals. Because there's no guarantee that they're going to do what you're asking them at any given moment, you know? You train them as good as you can and hope for the best, and recognize that, yeah, they're going to listen to you most of the time because of their training, but there is going to be times when they just say, you know what, I'm done, forget it. Might take a minute. Like I said, you can't force them. They have to be trained that they want to work with you. When you're working a horse at Liberty, they're choosing to obey you. Her mother and her stall pasture mates are all up there. And so she decided she was going to take off, but she'll be back. Stacia, come on! Touch! Stacia! Come on! Don't stand there and ignore me, come on! She's ignoring me. I'll go get her. I'll be right back. Well, when we were working outside in the outside area, she was listening a lot of the time, but then she'd fall out of frame and get upset. Like a lot of the stuff I was having her do was actually what I was asking her to do there. But she gets really like nervous for some reason working in the backfield. I don't know why, but I knew that she would. It was just prettier out there, so that's why we went out there. But yeah, I wouldn't put her in a situation where there's other people riding her where she might get upset and it could be dangerous. It's something a lot of people don't realize. It's like, oh, horse, I want to ride. Horses are amazing. They are, so you can connect with them so much, and it's such a beautiful experience. But they also can be really dangerous. They're big, powerful animals, and if you don't know what you're doing, you can get hurt. And so as a horse owner, I'm always cautious about that with other people when they're around the horses. I will, just keep her close enough that I can control her if there's a problem. And I'm not going to put them in a situation. With Stacia, at any point, I can raise my hand and say, ho, and she'll stop. And so if I do have somebody riding her and I think that she's getting upset, I'll just cue her to stop. Oh, I didn't know you were going to follow us all around it. So the coronavirus put a halt to an awful lot of things, obviously. I had a lot of cancellations with some of my other things with acting and photography. No new films came up for anything for Stacia to do. But the one thing that was nice is we were home a lot, so had a lot of extra time to actually spend riding and getting stuff done around here. So I would say the coronavirus was a major pain in the butt, but living on a farm, it was probably easier for us than for most people because there's always something to do. You don't have time to get stir crazy.